Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. I'm Amanda.
And this is Sam.
So yeah, well, I think what's really fascinating is like talking about girls, and specifically, Sam, you didn't watch Girls. Have you watched any Girls since you read Famesick?
I have seen, no, not since reading. I've seen clips of Girls over the years, and I have a general understanding of what the show is about, and I know the cultural impact that it had. The issue for me is that when it came out, I was still deep in Mormon land and in Utah. And that was just, it was a show that, one, I wouldn't have been drawn to at that time because it was so different from my life personally. Yeah. And also just in the culture in Utah, this is speaking to like, Girls is speaking to just like a completely different subset of people. And I think now looking back on that makes me really sad. Like it kind of feels like this thing that I missed out on, another element that this religion took from me. But, you know, you just have to sit with it. And I think this is the interesting thing, not sending this episode here, but just an element of it that I think reading her biography and or reading this memoir and also sitting with it is the recognition of how different my life is from most people. Yeah. Like, I think most people, there's a lot in this memoir, and I think in a show like Girls, that everybody can kind of pull from. And I don't have as much life experience that fits that. I have professional background that I can tap into and kind of piece some of these experiences together. You know, the way she talks about her sense of self, her toxic relationships, you know, the fame of how it impacted her, and being a writer and the addiction and all of that. Like I can tap into these different elements of like my professional experience, but like personally, I don't have any of that. So I think that at a large space, I think that's what this has been for me so far.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's interesting because when it came out in 2012, I don't know what like a month. Let me look what month it came out. When was it? April. So I was literally a month away from graduation of college. So I think, like I didn't watch it when it first came out. I was like very deep in my addiction by that point. Like I had no friends when I graduated college. I barely made it through. It was like a terrible time for me. Yeah, like I don't have a memory of watching it early. I didn't get into it until I was actually sober. So for me, the show very much like punctuates my early sobriety because I had a really good friend who loved it and we used to watch it together. So it is interesting because like that, the 2012, 2013, I have like very few memories of because I was like not present because I was so in my addiction. Like ironically, that is when Red came out too, right? In October. And I did not listen to Red when it came out because I just was so far gone. I didn't listen to any music. Like I just was totally off. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it is like fascinating how these different things like punctuate your life and when and how it is different watching it back than in person. But I also just remember like being so steeped in diet culture that I think a lot of it was in the beginning. And I think this is what triggered a lot of people or annoyed a lot of people and made people have big reactions was that it was, Sex and the City was Sex and the City, which I also loved. But Girls was pitched as, a more realistic, younger Sex and the City. So, right, Lena Dunham obviously is naked a lot, does a lot of sex scenes. There is just a lot of nudity in it. But I had never seen anything like that of someone who had that kind of body type, who wasn't like perfectly thin and toned and who even had like tattoos and stuff like that, engaging in like casual sex. And I think it was just like I had a reaction to it because I think Lena And I think this was what a lot of people had issues with, even if they didn't identify it as that, is it was almost like, who does she think she is? How is she this confident? How is she able to do this, right? The irony is, reading her book, it's clear she wasn't. But the way that it's displayed in the show is so confident, it kind of points out your own fat phobia in some ways, because you're like, I look different than that or whatever, and I'm not doing that, or I wouldn't be that confident.
I think the internalized fat phobia thing, it opens up so many conversations. And I think what's unique about Lena's book coming out right now, given what her status as a role model was, and I say role model as a neutral term, right? You can project onto it whatever you want. Being that peak millennial mirror ball, if you will, which I think is what she was. I find it interesting that it's dropping now, where we have this resurgence of skinny culture coming back. Yeah. And a lot of people, the whole comment on Ariana Grande, right? Mm-hmm. The Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo of it all, and Half Baked Harvest. This odd debate of suddenly everybody being interested in body neutrality, and we don't comment on women's bodies, and we don't know what's going on. Yet we are constantly commenting on fat bodies. Mm-hmm. Constantly. All the time. All the time we are commenting on fat bodies. And when the conversation shifts to thin bodies, it suddenly becomes inappropriate. And I think Lena was a huge element of that conversation in the actual body neutrality movement of being able to see yourself. But none of us had done the internal work to be able to tolerate actually seeing that. And I think the resentment and the rejection of that, because when you negatively project on someone, that's what's happening, right? Yeah. Your internal experiences, you're seeing something reflected back to you that you hate. Yeah. So you want to diminish it, belittle it, push it away. And I think that largely is what happened to Lena over the entire course of her career. And I think even still now.
Totally. Well, I think too, it was so quick. It was so sudden. And, maybe this even has some parallels as I'm thinking with Olivia Rodrigo and her new album that came out of I think about the difference between Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift in terms of obviously, I think Olivia Rodrigo has learned a lot from Taylor Swift in terms of she's bringing her management in-house as much as possible. I think she negotiated from the get-go to own the rights to her masters. And similar to Taylor Swift, has always really wanted to be in charge creatively of what's going on. But I'm saying this all because Lena Dunham kind of reminds me of Olivia Rodrigo in this extremely quick descent to fame, people wanting all of this stuff from her. I think just not recognizing how you can be used in the industry.
Okay, if we lay out the timeline, let's look at this realistic timeline of people's careers. You have Taylor in the mid to late 2000s. You have Lena Dunham in the mid 2010s. You have Olivia Rodrigo in the 20s. I think Taylor had the benefit of not getting her start in the time of social media. And I think what set her apart was she harnessed the power of that very early. And I think she embraced it as a reality very early. Mm-hmm. I think Lena rose at the time of Tumblr and the time of we can start having mass conversations with millions of people about our thoughts and opinions on things at the same time, and the impact that has on pop culture. Mm-hmm. And we're all able to agree that something is shitty at the same time, or we're all able to agree that we love something at the same time. And I think Lena came to, I don't want to say came to power, but I think her rise to fame came at that time where there was kind of this larger social reckoning of realizing we could all be connected, but what does that mean? And like, you know, kind of that, you know, Tumblr really was the birthplace of like the white liberal woman today. In terms of like, that was where a lot of terminology that we use today was first thrown out. It was where there were a lot of like early like political discussions going on around things that were happening or not happening. Right. So she came to be in that time, which like, if you look at her rise to fame, I think it matches with conversations about fame and pop culture at the time. Then you have Olivia Rodrigo, who has known nothing but social media and the power of social media and the conversations around it. And I think what's interesting about some of the celebrities that you see today who are kind of this firmly Gen Z camp, right? They understand that they are in this ecosystem, whether they want to be or not. And I think there is kind of this attitude of, I don't give a fuck, right? Kind of like a Chappell Roan is on the far end of the spectrum with that. But I think Olivia Rodrigo is kind of trying to do that without having to verbalize, I don't give a fuck. She's trying to be kind of like, she's a little edgier in her music. She's more like rock centered in her music and trying to show like, I'm going to do what I want to do, but I'm still going to pay attention to trends, right? Like the whole marketing for this album is absolutely trending to that very hyper feminine baby doll, kind of mimicking elements of Sabrina Carpenter's branding a little bit. I just think it's, and I think to have Lena's memoir come out after this, it just kind of opens up this door of like, it never changes. The dynamics change, the elements at play change, the way culture interacts with you changes, but the themes, which is women being held to impossible standards, never, ever change. That if a woman disappoints one person, that means she's disappointed everybody. Like at that level of fame, right? If there's one person that doesn't like you, that means you've done it all wrong. No matter how successful you've been, no matter how incredible you are, it just matters that there's one person on the internet that hates you, and people tune into that one person. And that ends up really like invalidating so much of your work, because the conversation is actually never about their work.
Totally.
The conversations that I hear in pop culture are never actually about someone's artistry. Like when people tell me I don't like Taylor's music, that's fine. We can have a debate about that all day. If you want to tell me you don't like the show Girls, great. Tell me why you don't like that as a show, or the story, or the direction they took the character arcs. Like, let's debate that all day. What we can never separate ourselves from is the conversation of the woman herself. And she's never allowed to just be an artist.
Well, this makes me even think, Sam, about like Yesteryear and Caroline Burke and all of the hate, honestly, she's been getting. And you and I didn't love the book. We had like some critiques of it. And I think especially you have a unique perspective as someone who was raised in, right, like like, you know, Mormon, and maybe it wasn't inspired by, but I think it's pretty clear that Ballerina Farm and Mormons were heavily influencing the character of Natalie, who's the main character in that book. But a lot of, the conversations, and I have to catch myself in this too, because it is easy to just like jump on a bandwagon, but it is. And we're always trying to find this line, I think, as a podcast of, can we discuss the art? Can we discuss what's going on and be careful about not collapsing it into something about the person? And you cannot like a book. You cannot like the work. You cannot like the character. You cannot like the show, the music, all of that. And that doesn't mean you don't like the person, or you don't know the person, but you don't have a right. Like, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong either.
Correct. Yeah, I think we immediately say, if I don't like this thing from this particular artist, that means I wouldn't like this person.
Yeah.
And I think those are two completely different elements. And I think it's a space that men get.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think even if you look at the conversation around like male athletes. And this is a world that I have found myself in a lot more recently.
You can educate me much more.
Yeah. I know that is not Amanda's strong suit, so I'll keep this metaphor brief. But really, like, it's fascinating to me when I watch discussions around male athletes.
Yeah.
There is never a discussion about their personal lives. It's always about their own craft. Athletics is a craft. Mm-hmm. And anytime I listen to the conversation, it doesn't veer to the personal. No matter what industry you're in, no matter where you look, men are able to be separated personally from their craft.
Yep.
They are able to be separated from their profession, their artistry, whatever it is. And if there is a flaw, it is still tied to the professional element. It's not so much looked at for who they are as a person, and that means we can never like them, right? Whereas with women, it is just an immediate, like, I don't like you, you're annoying, your brand is annoying, your voice is annoying, it's so annoying because I don't like you and you're annoying and you're loud and you're obnoxious because you actually talk about the fact that you're famous and you had the audacity to create something that I don't like and I just don't like you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fascinating to obviously hear about, you know, like you got this real insider look at just what fame does, what it's like, how she was thrown into this, how she was like totally caught off guard. I think it was fascinating. Like I was so fascinated by when she talked about favors and how everybody, when you become famous, like everyone wants a favor from you and you always want to say yes. And then you're like in this state of you can't say no because you're afraid, right, as a woman, if you have boundaries and you say no, like people are going to be mad at you and they're not going to like you. And how she had this like false sense that if she said yes to everyone, that then they would leave her alone. But all it did was then like favors beget more favors. I found that fascinating and such a good point.
Well, and that she would never get another opportunity.
Yes.
That like if she said no, people would immediately perceive that not as she was busy, but that she was not interested.
Yeah. Which I think is unfortunately true.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of phases.
That.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
I feel that sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's just fascinating with the people coming out of the woodwork and stuff like that. And like this idea that if you say yes to everyone, people will like you and you can make them happy is like, I relate to that so hard.
Yeah, like you can control it.
Yep.
That you can control the perception that people have of you.
Yeah.
If you're
which
agreeable.
Is like the most, especially, right, if you talk about Lena Dunham, like it is the most uncontrollable, huge. Nothing, no one can control that.
Right.
Whatsoever.
I think as I've read through it, I've been thinking of like the stories, the pop culture stories that I've heard or read or seen of Lena over the years.
Yes.
And I truly cannot think of a positive one.
Yeah, I can't really either.
I really can't think of a time where I saw her addressed positively.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's fascinating to read her book and see how everyone is like a caricature of a real person in a lot of ways. Like Adam was a caricature of that, like boyfriend. Hannah herself is like a caricature of her. Her parents are a little bit loosely like caricatures of themselves. Like all of that. Jessa, literally, I didn't realize that the actress was actually the inspiration for that real person, which was really cool. But if you look at also, because she had that show come out on Netflix, I think it was called Too Much.
Yeah.
It came out last year, which is interesting because that was like caricatures too, which I had kind of, she had said that in some of the promo for it, but I didn't totally get it. And it is just like fascinating how that is sort of most of her work. And it puts you in an interesting perspective as a creative person where it's personal in some ways because there is a lot of similarities between you or your situation and what you created. but it also is a caricature. So it's like meant to be ridiculous and not exactly what you're going through. And I do think that, not that it's her fault by any means, but I think that is some of the hard parts too, is that it's very easy to be like, Hannah is insufferable in quite a few ways. So like Lena Dunham is Hannah, where it was like this was just like a starting caricature of her that then went on its own and had its own journey.
Right.
So it's like almost, but not enough. I mean, it was interesting as you finish her memoir, it charts sort of her meeting her husband and all of that. And she talks about the sick dog she had that was like exactly like the sick dog in the show Too Much. So I just think it's this fascinating thing when you make art that is like semi-autobiographical, but not totally, how easy it is to collapse those two in like public perception.
And what I think is that hasn't impacted Adam Driver.
Yeah. But I didn't know that Adam Driver was like his character.
Yeah.
Until I read this book.
Like his personality. Like when she talks about how the first time he saw the pilot, he left, slammed the door, and she didn't hear from him for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's rude. But
yeah.
Then he acts like everything was fine. And he's like, oh, I just don't like looking at myself. And it's like, okay. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think it goes down to that, like, why is it that we cannot separate their art from them?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Misogyny.
Internalized misogyny and sexism, everybody. But also, what was it Taylor that said recently that she's like, once you release your art into the world, like you relinquish all control of it?
Yep.
And she said like with Reputation, people didn't.
Although
like
I think there was some revisionist history there of her acting like she was so like released from it.
Yeah, no, she wasn't.
I don't believe you.
If you watch
as
Miss
someone
Americana,
who was there.
No, if you watch Miss Americana, she was not okay with that album not doing well. But I think her success since has allowed her to have some rose tinted glasses, because I think in Miss Americana,
you have to,
and also like it was clear like around that time Taylor herself was planning on becoming irrelevant.
Yes,
like she literally said it. She was starting to say like, I think I have one good album left in me, and that's all they want, and adios. So not to say like Taylor is our Lord and Savior on this podcast, but I just think the way she has handled her career, and she has never backed down once, is just incredibly remarkable to me. Even when she has been vilified and pilloried, and I think Lena is kind of similar in some ways. Lena's had her personal problems, like her personal issues, but I think she didn't have to write this memoir. She didn't have to create a new show. Like, she could have just gone away, and I think nobody would have blamed her if she did. If she decided that it was too much. But I think when you are a creator, that drive to create never dies down.
Well, I think I love reading about celebrities in rehab. It's just like my favorite thing.
Yeah, what were your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think she did a very accurate portrayal of what rehab is like, for sure, where she kind of talked about the different things. And I think she was very clear-eyed through the whole thing. I think a lot of times when people write about rehab, they kind of like, I don't know. Oh, they just like fall into tropes about it.
Well, I think there's always kind of a grungy romanticism associated with any like reflective rehab experience.
Well, what I really appreciated about her book is I think it's very easy when you're in recovery to then just discard everything in your life before that and act like you were just out of your mind from the day you were born, sort of. And there is this like whole narrative in AA that's like, I'm always an addict. I once was an addict. I'm not saying that can't be someone's opinion, but like people use it as like a blanket statement to be like, anything I've ever done bad in my life was because of my addiction, even if I wasn't using yet. And I appreciated just like the the honesty, but not worshiping. Like, especially I think it was really fascinating to read in comparison to Elizabeth Gilbert's book. Because Elizabeth Gilbert is someone who also, is in recovery now. And her experience was like, sex. She, says she's a sex addict and a love addict and stuff. And like just the extreme lengths that Liz Gilbert is like, this saved me and it will save all of you. And like, there was just such a, like, I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know who went through, I mean, they both went through really hard things. And like Lena went through, I mean, like her, I mean, what she went through physically isn't, and still I think struggles with, is really insane and intense in a totally different level than I expected to read. But there just wasn't this like shiny magic over everything that Liz Gilbert did. And if you want to hear Sam and I talk about this a lot, we have a whole very long episode on Substack talking about it. But yeah, and I think part of it is because she has perspective. Like I don't remember off the top of my head how many years Liz Gilbert says she is clean, but I think she started writing it while a lot of this was happening, and you can just tell like the difference in perspective. And I think Liz is someone who I'm talking about, where she sort of like looks at her whole life and looks back at her life and is like, I've always been a sex and love addict. All of the things, I never was in my right mind. I have been walking around as this like unhealed wound for forever, where Lena is able to kind of be like, yes, I developed an addiction. Yes, there were things going on. I think one thing that bothers me is people act as though addiction and recovery are the only defining things in their life. And they like retroactively sort of like wipe their whole life in those terms. And I think it's just like really collapses things and prevents like honest reflection when you just categorize everything in that way.
Well, I also do think there is, I'm like you, I don't want to minimize anybody's experience or say that it can't feel magical. But I
think it does feel magical, but a lot of times it feels magical in early recovery.
It feels magical in early recovery, but also like addiction is actually very simple.
Yeah.
Like I really do think, like, obviously, like, it's complicated for people's lives and the way it fits into your lives and the ramifications of it, right? But like, at a high level, it's a fairly straightforward event in terms of like, you use this substance, it's impacting your life, you need to stop it. Like, I think it's actually like an A plus B equals C situation. And I think Lena's perspective leans more into that. Like an understanding of like, I developed a problem as a result of life experiences that I lived and snowballed into each other to get to this point. And I now have some things I need to figure out. And I think there is a monotony to treatment and sobriety that people aren't really prepared for. Because most of the stories around it are tied in the massive spiritual aha moments, the groundbreaking conversation that you had with that one person where they said the exact right thing that you needed to hear, and then your life changed from that point. And I do think there are the dramatics that people sprinkle onto it because they want to feel brave.
Yeah.
Because it's like sobriety in and of itself, going to rehab is one of the bravest things that I think someone can commit to doing. Truly, it's something that I deeply admire in you, Amanda. Like, I know you didn't go to rehab, but I think your sobriety experience and how you have maintained that all of these years, like that is brave. I have people very close to me now who are also in the same process, and I admire that so much. And I think the common thread that I see through the people that are able to maintain it authentically is an understanding of, no, this is just boring. Like, I have to figure out how to live life boring. And it's not going to be, there's no rose color to it.
I think also as we're unpacking this, I think what bothers me is like, it reminds me of like when I was in early recovery, I really categorized people into like, these are sober people and I like them and they're great, or they're not sober people and like, or they're not addicts and I don't understand them. And we are just like different breeds of human. And I acted like I could only help, like I could only work with like, you know, people in recovery because that's what I was. And I think that happens a lot versus, and that when you do that, you can kind of put like human-sized problems into like addiction holes. You can be like, everything in my life is explained by the fact that I'm an addict. You can be like, I'm never satisfied because it's the addict in me. And the older I get and the more people I work with and the more perspective I have, I'm like, no, that is a human life condition. And it's sort of the premise of my whole book, Not Drinking Tonight, which is when we act like there are special people who need to be sober and other people who aren't, we neglect the fact that like under the right circumstances, I truly believe almost anyone can be addicted to anything because
100%.
the human
1000%.
condition is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And given the right amount of trauma, pain, access to medication, lack of resources, whatever,
it'll happen.
You get by how you get by.
Right? It's a coping skill.
Yeah.
It's emotional regulation.
Yep.
It's not, but it feels like it is.
Yep.
And I think
Totally.
I respected Lena's take on that because I feel like it fit that type of narrative. It is officially summer, and I have an incredibly controversial opinion, which is I actually don't love summer. There are elements of summer that I enjoy. There are elements of summer that I like. I don't like summer, and that is because I would rather be cold than hot all the time. There's nothing worse to me than being hot. And sleeping hot is even worse. And since I am a solution-focused person, I am constantly thinking of what I can do to alleviate this problem, make it better for me because it is so uncomfortable for me to be hot when I sleep. And one of the solutions that I have found is twofold. It is the Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set and the Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. When I tell you that these things have changed my life and made summer heat in the summer season that much more enjoyable, I cannot speak more highly to it. The material is so breathable. It is so comfortable. It feels like you are wrapped in a cloud while feeling like you are remaining cool at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. You're just going to have to try it. Truly, they are incredible. And one of the things that I absolutely love about this brand is that their clothing carries a lifetime warranty. Any piece of clothing that you buy, lifetime warranty. You can return it anytime, get a replacement. Their bedding has a 10-year warranty. 10 years on your bedding. That is crazy. And it just speaks to how much they trust the quality of their product. Treat yourself to the cool, easy comfort your summer nights have been missing. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code NUANCEBOGO, that's NUANCEBOGO, to buy one, get one free. Did you hear me? They are doing buy one, get one free right now. Mix and match across sheets, pajamas, and towels. That's code NUANCEBOGO, NUANCEBOGO, at CozyEarth.com for buy one, get one free. And if you see a post-purchase survey, please feel free to mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here.
Well, she also, like, she talked about, right, like, after she got sober and how she was still, like, having casual sex and ended up, like, with people who weren't that great for her and stuff like that. And I think hers was so much more complicated because I cannot imagine being in that much physical pain, being addicted to painkillers, and then not being able to use them because, like, what a hard line that is.
And I think that veers into the conversation of like harm reduction, of like what's worse, you know, white knuckling cold turkey and relapsing on the stuff that ruins you, or having a lighter element that you dabble in as needed. And I know that that's like an extremely nuanced take on like sobriety and treatment and all of that. And you get to decide where you land on that. But I think part of the problem is what a lot of people are frightened away of in regards to sobriety is the feeling that they can never do anything ever again. And if anything happens, they've ruined it for forever and there's no going back.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like other memoirs of addiction or celebrities that have been open about their sobriety and what I think about
it. Makes me really sad because Russell Brand was like 10 years ago. He was like super open and he's like lost it.
Yes.
Lost it.
He really, really has.
Like he's gone off somewhere.
I know this is like a really broad statement to say, but it's like people, I don't know, the spirituality stuff, once they start getting into teaching, like it's like the spirituality plus helping other people with it. I mean, say what you want. Lena Dunham's not helping anyone get sober. Right? Like,
no, and she doesn't care to.
I know. And like that is where that power comes in, and it's really tempting. I think when you build this identity around you're someone who helps other people get sober, you're making money off of it, it's tempting.
Yeah. The spirituality thing, honestly, that could be like a deep dive that we do an episode on, because it is, I also think that's deeply interwoven with the sobriety community as well.
Yeah.
The whole higher power thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of you listening might not know, but like that higher power element actually is an incredibly controversial element in the recovery community. Some people really feel you need it. Some people really bristle against the fact that they're told to have it. It's dicey. And the people that gravitate to it can become very intense.
Yes.
In their portrayal of that. And I think you see that sometimes with some of these influencers who have a background in that and who get wrapped up in the spirituality element. There is kind of this like, I have to save you. Here's my line with it, because something that I've maintained in my deconstruction is like a firm sense of spirituality. And you and I have had conversations about this ad nauseum. I do have a pull to spirituality, and I practice that in my own way. And that kind of shifts depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm a little more traditional in my portrayal of that. Sometimes I get a little witchy. Sometimes I get a little pagan-y, science-y, like it shifts. But my line for me is I will never tell anybody how to do that or what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because I think it is so deeply personal.
I think that's a very good line to have.
And I think it is something I dabble in. And obviously, like, this is not a secret. I'm very open with my friends about it. I'll openly chat with my clients about it if that's something that they want to work through. Obviously, I mean, not work through my spirituality, but if they're working through their spirituality, like, obviously we'll talk about it. But I think it's so irresponsible to have a public platform and not be aware of how, if you catch the right person at the wrong time, that stuff can really send you to a dark place. And I'm just I guess I'm kind of sick of it right now. I'm sick of certain subsets of Christians. I am sick of influencers telling me what I should or should not feel. I am sick of being told, like, what is right and what is wrong. Like, I do think, but I'm just like annoyed with everyone.
Yeah.
On the internet. I don't know if you feel that too. I mean, I'm annoyed with myself, but like, I think there's just like so much content.
I just feel like
points.
Nothing is happening on the internet anymore.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's just that I've been a lot more disconnected.
Is it the dead internet theory?
What is the dead
internet
theory?
Is that what that is?
I'm going to Google it.
You should Google it.
It's a concept that the internet has largely been abandoned by humans and replaced by non-human activity.
Like bots and stuff?
Yeah, it says that most online content, interactions, engagement metrics are driven by bots, algorithms, and AI, creating the illusion of a vibrant, human-driven web. Yeah. Bots interacting with bots, AI-generated content, bot-dominated traffic. I mean, we talked about this in the clipping economy episode we did. I mean, I think the whole – I don't know. Like, I mean, partly I've been offline a lot more because I am writing – I'm like knee-deep in writing a book, and I just like can't deal with everything. And it's truly remarkable how little I feel like I've actually missed. I don't know. You can tell me that that I missed some big stuff. But it's like, especially when I found out when that clipping economy episode we did, I was just like, so much of what we're reacting to is a reaction of a reaction of a reaction. Like, it is also the idea that like AI content will be, right? If it's an AI summary of an AI produced article written by AI, it's like, how many layers does it go down where what is even real?
Well, and something I find interesting, right, is like, I'm a big fan of Substack. I still really like Substack. And now, of course, on Instagram, what are you starting to see? Substack is dead. Don't tell people to get on Substack. Like, you'd never, blah, 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 blah. You're really, why Instagram is actually like rebounding. And I'm just like, the coaches, specifically the marketing coaches, marketing coaches.
I can't.
I can't.
No.
And I think, have you heard the Yap challenge?
Yes. I think you just told me that offline.
Yeah, we chatted about it a little bit, but I have been extremely reflective of that one for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But I think mainly I'm like, do we need more people yapping online?
But the problem is it's so easy to say like, yes, we need it, but those people are like selling things. That's what's so, yes, all the social media coaches that are like, we need your voice. Like, maybe that is true. I'm not going to tell anybody who's listening that like, we don't need your voice on the internet. I don't know. I just think so often people don't look at like the source.
Yes.
Like, what is that person's motivation?
Correct.
Because if they're directly making money off of you feeling this way, you have to have some level of doubt. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's just something dirty about like making money off of people who are trying to make money. Like, I'm not saying in every case, but it's like making money off of people who are trying to make money off of people who are trying to make like that. Like, it's like the AI. It's distorted. Especially the biggest thing for me is when people make money off of things that they're not even like an expert at.
Right.
Like, if you have never had a successful business, you should not be a business coach.
No. I think what I have a hard time with is those of us in these industries that are specifically designed and trained to legitimately help people. Mm-hmm. And how hard it is to market things from that angle. Mm-hmm. And it feels like some people that I know in our own industry, mm-hmm. I'm sure there are some people that we can think of off the top of our head who turn into the business marketing because it is low-hanging fruit. And it's really easy to tell people that you can guarantee them XYZ and you dangle the opportunity of wealth in their face and tell them that they're amazing and that you see them for something that they've never seen themselves as, and they'll give you $295.
Yep.
For videos that teach you how to talk to a camera. But notice how our conversation has in no way veered to who she is as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I think we're all trying to figure out how to live in this ecosystem that isn't going anywhere. How do you retain authenticity mm-hmm. in a system that essentially demands conformity? Mm-hmm. It wants all of us to be the same, act the same, buy the same things, do the same things. Like,
yeah,
you know, there's the debate around like, have influencers killed fashion?
Yeah.
Because we all wear the same things. We all want the same trends, blah, 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 right? Like,
I know. And then it's so bad because then it's like everyone is going to just do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it's just, it's such a machine.
It is. And I fall into it all the time.
I know.
I'm constantly assessing like,
I know.
Is this still working? Should I be doing something different? What does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. Like, but then I keep showing up. Mm-hmm. So.
We love you guys. Join us on Substack. Follow us.
Rate, review, share, subscribe. We have great takes. We're awesome.
Pay us on Substack.
If you want to feel bleak and hopeless,
we're the cynical gals to go to.
We're the ones. Okay, you're the best. Bye.
Bye.